Suffering is the distance between your expectation and reality.
So good.
If you can sit with what is, as opposed to hoping for what you wish it was, the suffering will be so much less.
Look at the set, bro. I love it.
It's coming along, right?
I love it.
We're getting there. I've been watching the World Cup.
Oh, same.
Yeah?
I don't watch too many full games.
Yeah.
Other than I've tried to watch a lot of U.S. Like basically U.S. and Argentina are my two big ones. But mostly U.S. But man,
We got a team.
I know.
We got a team. I mean,
I heard somebody say at the beginning of the thing that, hey, this is one of the best clubs we've had in a while. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And the first two games was like, guess so.
Yeah, I guess we do. It's fun to watch. I've always loved Brazil.
Yeah.
And, of course, you can't not watch Argentina with Messi, right?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he is.
Right now, is this correct? They played 2 games. They've scored 5 goals, and all 5 of them were him. I think that's true.
I know he scored 3 in the last game.
I think he scored 2 in the last.
And he was a shoulder away from scoring 4 because he was offsides. It's crazy. Have you felt the energy of? I mean, we're not in a soccer city or a football city, but I mean, you can feel the energy. Like there is this, like
totally,
the world coming together.
Yeah.
In the midst of all that's fractured.
We are slowly becoming a soccer city.
That's true, but I mean, we're not hosting any games. I wish if we were,
yeah.
we were feeling all the
Which
energy.
I wish we would.
I
So
know,
we have a great spot.
same. We're in Nashville, and there's the
yeah.
But
yes,
in a season of life and history where so many people are fractured in the way they feel about politics and the world and global economics and the whole thing, it's been fun to have this kind of unifying event.
Yes.
It feels very much that way. It's been fun. I've seen some on social media, some of the Europeans like commenting on America.
Yeah.
And by far, the number one thing they comment on, Walmart.
What?
They're blown away.
That's hilarious.
They're like, yeah, we stopped in here for some food and we bought all this other stuff. They're like, we lost each other.
I guess that's true.
I mean, right? There's nothing like that in Europe,
Wow. I never really thought about that.
Yeah, it's hysterical.
Take that for granted, don't we?
We do. We take it for granted. That's for sure. So, what's fascinating you right now?
I would say the biggest thing, the thing that is dominating my mind is that, what was it, 2 weeks ago? I got my first hole-in-one.
And I chipped in. It was completely anticlimactic because you got a hole-in-one.
Well, mine was several minutes later. You chipped in from the next tee box, which is
Let's not talk
absolutely
about that.
insane.
Jackie, my shot was so bad that I
second shot
I hit on the tee box of the next tee. And then, but I chipped in from there into the hole. It was nice.
40 yards?
Grassy area.
Probably. I would imagine 30 yards, something like that.
And it was for your birthday. Here we are golfing.
Yes.
We got a bunch of buddies together. It's for your birthday, and you got a hole-in-one.
I did 2 major things that day. One, I haven't been looking for trying to get a hole-in-one. Seemed a little...
Right.
But I have been looking to break 80. I also broke 80 that day.
And you also broke 80.
79 to be exact.
And you said it. You were like, today's the day. Like, I'm going to do this.
I know. I did feel it.
You were locked in.
The day before at a par 3, my first shot was about 2 feet from the hole. So I was just feeling it.
You were feeling it.
I played last weekend and it's different. like that day never happened.
That different.
Yes.
The game of golf,
completely different. I shot a 93, I think.
Oh my gosh. It is not an easy game. Not an easy game, that's for sure. What's fascinating me is I think it's the World Cup. It's watching players like Messi in flow state. And I mean, you could kind of see from the beginning of that game, because I remember another World Cup, everyone was kind of frustrated. Like Messi hadn't scored maybe throughout multiple parts of in the early rounds or whatever else. And maybe he didn't score the whole, I can't remember for the whole tournament. I don't remember, but I just remember like it had been a while.
Right.
And there was just like tension and frustration. And here he scores 3 in one game. But he's playing with this. He's one of the older guys in the entire tournament.
Oh yeah.
But you see, there's something about age and maturity.
Yep.
There is something about letting go.
Yep.
And you remember we had Barry Zito back when we were doing the podcast. We had Barry Zito come on, and I remember him saying he was a left-handed pitcher, won the Cy Young and a couple of World Series, and he said, "When I got up on the mound and I tried to impress, I had my worst game."
It's true. I just heard Joseph Campbell talk about that.
Oh,
too.
really? Well, okay. Here's the second part of Barry's quote: "Was when I got up on the mound to express."
Oh, yes.
I have a gift, and I'm just here to express my gift. He was in flow. There's a difference in that energy. What did Campbell say?
He said that like a big difference between a mature adult and a youngster, or whatever age, is that the mature adult is no longer worried about their future. They're no longer worried about, how is this? I have to get everything exactly this way, or it's going to completely screw my trajectory of my life.
Wow.
You lose that and you're like,
Yeah. There's a whole lot more freedom. Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
That is true. That's my experience with mature adults, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, I feel that.
Yeah, and on a little deeper note, what I'm fascinated with right now is also just really wanting to understand people.
Oh. Is this new for you?
No, not brand new, but I would say the frequency is new. Like, wonder why you think that.
Do you feel more compassionate? Do you feel more curious? Do you feel less judgmental?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had a real difficult time with judging, but it's more, wow, have you really thought about that? Or is it just, well, it kind of makes sense to me. It's what I was told, so must be it. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious. I am very curious, I guess, about people and why they think what they think, say what they say, believe what they believe, and if they have ever even thought about it.
Yeah.
Versus just handed something and that's it.
And perhaps many of us do go through life being handed teachings or handed a worldview. And I look at that 2 ways. One, some people, let's say you're working 2-3 jobs. You're just doing everything you can to keep your family going. You're in survival.
Yeah.
You may not have the margin to be thinking about philosophically what shaped you, why you are you're doing everything you can to put bread on the table. Right?
Sure.
So there are some people that might call that philosophizing a luxury.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Then there are others that perhaps are preoccupied or distracted by tasks and pleasures and whatever else that they don't bother to wonder, am I just living a pre-programmed life? And I remember this quote they were interviewing a Nazi soldier after the war, and they said, "Why did you follow Hitler so blindly?" And he said, "Freedom is heavy. It's actually easier to do what you're told."
And that is very true. It's a lot easier.
It is. I remember somebody saying to me, just back when we were in ministry, I remember somebody going, "Just what are the rules? Because just tell me what the rules are, and I'll follow the rules." Like, what
as in life rules, like the biblical rules or whatever.
Whatever the rules are, so God will love me. Just I want God to love me. I want to get to heaven. What are the rules?
Skip like all my stuff. Just tell me what to do.
That's it. Because just tell me what to do, and then as long as I can check off the rules, God should love me enough to get me in, right?
Wow.
So, okay, today.
Yeah, man. What's on your mind for today, James?
What's on my mind is a quote from Carl Jung. Mm-hmm. Jung, depending on.
Looks like Jung to me.
He says, "Where your fear is, there your task is."
Okay. Yep.
So there's two primary drivers of the ego, right? The fear and shame.
Right.
And you can almost kind of strip back and go, a lot of shame is even attached to fear. So the one primary driver of the human experience is fear. And it's evolutionary. You know, it's a survival mechanism. And fear produces in us this drive for fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn. I got to stay alive. And if you go back to our ancestors, death was around the corner. It was a wild beast. It was a disease. It was not enough food, And so if you were in a tribe, you had a higher chance of survival.
Yeah.
But if you did something to piss the people off in the tribe, or you broke a tribal rule, you could be cast out of the tribe. And in that absence of belonging, death typically followed.
Yeah, sure.
And we have, right? So you see how belonging is woven into the survival mechanism of who we are. And now we have this drive for connection, community, all summarized by this powerful word that drives us, love.
Yeah.
I want to be loved, and I want to give love. I want to receive love. And often what gets in the way is fear. And Jung, in all of his writings, I think this was in one of the letters he wrote to someone, but he was reminding this person, friend, client, look, the thing that you're afraid of, that's where you get to do your most work. That's your task.
Sure.
So rather than judging yourself, spiraling in it,
right,
there's an opportunity to go, there's my work.
Yep.
I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough money.
Oh, yeah.
There's your work.
Yep.
I'm afraid I'm going to, someone I love is going to die. There's your work.
I'm afraid if I don't believe this, I'll spend eternity in hell.
There's your work. And we could quickly spin off into conversations. We have a guest coming in today, Fabi Cordaro. We call her Fabi. And it's interesting because I know she was a pastor's kid. She grew up in South Africa. I'm interested in, she's gone through a really interesting journey, an evolution of thought and belief. And it'd be interesting to hear what her experience has been in this.
Totally.
But, when you think about our attachments, an attachment to me, we talk a lot around expectations and agreements here, right? And attachment is that I have an expectation of an outcome. If it doesn't happen, I lose my state, and it's often driven by fear. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty heavy question. Like, what do I do with my fear? So let's just say a listener goes, okay, that quote by Jung is powerful. Yeah, where my fear is, there my task is. But what do I do? Like, I'm afraid. What do I do with this fear? And what if I'm in a loop and I've been afraid of this for years and it just keeps going on and on? And there's something most of us do to try and soothe our fear. Do you know what it is? There's lots of things we do, but if you could stick it in a broad, what do we humans do to help soothe some of that fear?
Medicate.
Yes. And what's one of the ways we medicate? Especially if you look at it from a 40,000 foot view. Like, one of the things we try to do to stay safe.
I think it depends on the person. Then thing I keep, like, make more money.
And if I made more money, I would feel safe because I did what with my world?
Control.
There it is.
Didn't take too long.
Right? If I can have certainty, then I feel safe. So let's go to we're going to go to the library.
Okay. And his library is vast. This is just look at that. He knew right where he was going.
Okay. So to the library today. This is a book by a guy named Jeremy Young. It's called The Cost of Certainty.
Not related to Carl, I assume.
Not related. I mean, might be, but not that I know of. The Cost of Certainty. how religious conviction betrays the human psyche. It's a little bit of a 2x4 for a subtitle.
Seriously.
Right? I read this years ago, actually. I read this back when I was in ministry, because I was frustrated with the religious context that I was in.
You reading that book while you were in ministry is what I like to call a slippery slope.
And it absolutely was, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, we've talked about this back on the podcast at length, but our challenge with being in a religious box was this very thing. There is, and you know what? Let's just go right to it. This is early in the book. He says, fear and love are incompatible in Christian teaching.
Right.
One of the passages in Scripture is, "Their perfect love casts out fear." There is no fear in love. I'm continuing to quote, "But fear, or at least anxiety, is one of the most common emotional states amongst the devout." So he making the observation, wait, the central, you could argue one of the central teachings that people say they adhere to is that perfect love casts out fear. There is no fear. We live by faith. But why are the ways of being by those who refer to themselves as Christians so marked by fear? You hear it in the political arenas. You hear it in theological treatises. You hear people bantering. But most of the energy often is around fear. And so that was, you know, we've talked about this, but through the years, I'm scratching my head like, this kind of seems like the opposite of, we say we love Jesus and his teaching, but it kind of seems like the opposite of
totally,
teaching.
of course.
Why are we so driven by fear? And it comes back to, I think, the certainty tells, if I can be certain, and this to me is what happened throughout history. This is not hard to figure out if you look at Christian history, is we basically went, let's create power structures. The delineation of this especially happened by the time the Bible was being formed.
Yes.
These 66 books and letters were being formed into one book, and certain books weren't selected and everything else. And there were just rising Christian leaders who were making the decisions together and in coordination with the emperor who had just recently been converted. There's lots of agendas flying around.
Oh, yeah.
But fundamentally, we're going to put this thing into a dogma and a doctrine and create some form of certainty to remove our fear. Because all these crazy Christians for the last 300 years got all these different beliefs. And somewhere it left this relational exchange being the centerpiece of the whole thing. And it became about, we got to make sure we control people's beliefs.
And I heard it said, don't know how true it is, but I heard it said that it wasn't so much that Constantine just was so in love with Jesus. No, it was a way to control everybody.
Yeah, you can when you read most historical texts, you can see there's multiple agendas going on for sure. The Christians were growing and growing and growing. It was becoming a bit of a political problem. This was a way to solve the political problem.
Yep.
And he was a politician, and he had to maintain an empire, which was not an easy task, as we saw historically. And right now we're referring to religion and Christianity, but if we brought people in from other religions, I would guess they would probably say they dealt with some of the same frustrations. Sure. You deal with it in corporate America. You deal with it in family systems. This obsession with certainty is what we think is going to soothe our fear. But what happens? Nothing is really certain.
No.
It's just an illusion.
Yeah.
So what if, and this is part of the question for today, what if our goal, and when we think about that quote from Carl Jung, our task was not to eliminate fear by constructing columns of certainty in our life? What if instead we recognized, I get to honor my desire, I get to honor my wants, I get to plan, I get to make decisions, but this is actually a game of surrender and faith.
Imagine.
That to me is the irony of what happens when we organize and codify.
Yeah.
And usually use that as leverage to control. And then suddenly we're removing the dignity of choice from other people.
Yeah.
And removing the opportunity for you to have a very different experience with the divine than I'm having. Because now we're back to freedom.
Yep.
And for a lot of people, freedom is scary, and they get back in the cycle of fear.
And I totally get that. Like, I do understand the option or the risk of fear when there's uncertainty. I do get it. But where my brain has gone to in the past several years has been, yeah, but the option is pretending that you're certain. Like, you're not certain. You think you're certain. You're acting like you're certain, but you cannot be certain. Existentially speaking, spiritually speaking, you can't know. Yeah. You just can't. You can believe and feel and be drawn and whatever, but to say, no, I'm certain about this, to me is worse. I feel more uncomfortable saying I'm certain about something than I do being uncertain about something.
It's been said that the greatest barrier to success is not failure, but the illusion of knowing.
Right.
It's not ignorance, it's not failure, it's the illusion of knowing.
Yeah.
Because now we're not open, we're not coachable, we're not teachable. We are not walking in faith. We've attached ourselves to something.
And you're experiencing all of that now in your life, and probably about 99.9% chance you're not right.
I know, right? That's the thing. Now we've got to honor, like, I appreciate what you said. Like, some of the basic needs of a human are certainty is, when you list off the basic needs, is one of the needs. We've got to have some form of, it's listed in psychology as one of the needs. I like a different word, more like solidity or more like foundation. Those to me feel like it's more descriptive of what I'm looking for. I build my life on these principles. I'm going to put these things in play. Like our financial coaches would say, diversify your assets, right? But recognizing it all is bendable. It all is moldable. It's all in flex. It's all a verb.
I can understand certainty as a human need in most areas. But for me, like from a spiritual existential thing that you can't know, so it's not facts, it's not numbers, it's not whatever. For that, I feel like it's not a need.
Yeah.
Or, well, I should say, I don't feel like it's a need for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that would be an interesting thing to have a conversation about, like with other people. Like, is this a need for you? And totally. If so, tell me about that.
Yeah.
Right? There's your chance to get curious. Tell me about that. Because it's not a need for me. Why is that a need for you? Tell me about that. I'm interested. As we all look to orient how we walk around on this planet.
Yeah.
Okay. So today for each show we have an artifact. Can I?
Oh, please.
Can I show you our artifact?
I'm so excited for this.
And it fits the theme. Okay.
Okay.
In 1977, my father said to me, I think I told the story in a different show. I'll just say it in 10 seconds. In 1977, I was told by my father, I was 8 years old, to go and I was supposed to clean out the wash tub in the basement. And I was not to leave any of the rags in the wash tub.
Wow.
But I did, in fact, leave the rags in the wash tub. And when the washing machine did its thing, the tub overflowed and flooded our basement. As an 8-year-old, that wasn't a great day.
Oh my
I got in trouble. I was disciplined. I can't remember what the discipline was.
Take two guesses.
I probably got spanked.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. That evening, however, around sunset, my father says, put your pajamas on. Mom's making some popcorn. Get in the back of the station wagon.
Face the back of the road.
Of course, there's no seatbelts. No. You're just laying in the back with your sisters. So climbed in the station wagon, and I said, what are we doing? And he's like, we're going to the drive-in. I'm like, what? He goes, and we're going to see that movie you said you wanted to see called Star Wars.
Which I also really went to see as well.
Did you see it?
Your dad.
Yes, the real reason that we were going was because Dan wanted to see. Of course. Yes. But this was his opportunity for grace.
I love it.
Even though you failed miserably,
yes,
I'm showing you grace. Hey, look, it left an imprint. So later that we saw Star Wars, of course, I fell in love. I started collecting the Star Wars cards and the figures and the whole thing. And later, my father was a school teacher at the time. He loved Halloween, and he would like do the whole thing. So I don't know, I think he got it like in a mail order magazine or something.
Sweet. Dang, look at that.
He ordered this Darth Vader helmet in 1977.
What?
Yes, so this is an OG helmet. So I along with it being a fun story.
Dang, it looks pretty good.
It fits our theme. The dark side is driven by
fear.
There you go. It's driven by fear and anger. That's what drives the dark side.
Oh.
And, I think the thing about Darth Vader is arguably one of the, most famous villains of all time. But I think one of the reasons, and people love portraying him. Like, there's a thing where like, are you with the Sith? Are you with the Jedi? The Jedi are like purists, but they got their own issues. And the Sith are driven by this passion and fear and anger. But I think part of what makes it compelling is that there's a recognition that we all have this shadow.
Yeah.
Like there's a little Darth Vader in all of us.
I think I can do an impression.
Let me hear it. Can you do the voice too?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
I have a deep voice, but not a James Earl Jones voice.
No, man, he had the best.
Yeah.
Talk about great casting.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, that's our artifact for the day.
I love it. I'm going to love staring at it all day. And we also, I believe we have a little mail.
Oh, yes. Yes, let's open the mailbox.
Okay,
what did we get on... And this one, Shane, if I understand, is just kind of like, it's a theme from what we've heard from so many of our folks on social media. When I was looking through, from TikTok, and we do a little coaching on TikTok. And
looking at this question, I would assume that most people at varying degrees have a thing with this.
Okay.
Question is, why do I struggle so much with people pleasing? The answer is we don't know why you struggle so much. We can generalize, though.
But why do we? Right? Well, all right, go back to what we were talking about with the tribe.
Right.
If I do not please the family, the society, the tribe, what happens?
You're shamed, you're banished, you're whatever the consequence is.
So we need to go back to, like, from an evolutionary standpoint, what are we carrying on from generation to generation? There is massive fear and shame in not doing what other people tell you.
Yes.
Now, and as a child, you're being conformed to your family system in in whatever context your family society is in, right? So as a child, and by the way, this is not right or wrong. Like, we're being formed into how to function in society. So the ego is being formed. Richard Rohr says you have to build the ego before it can die.
Yep.
So you're building an ego structure and an ego context, right? But imprinted in that is you will not be accepted if you don't conform.
Yes.
So I think for all of us that deal with that, oh my gosh, why am I such a people pleaser? If we can just remove the shame from it in terms of like, am I an idiot? How come I can't? Other people seem to get by this, but I don't, like the only people who don't wrestle with it at all are people with a pathology.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, so the reason you're contending with it is because people matter.
Right.
Your culture matters, your society matters, your family matters. So start with some self-compassion that goes, oh, of course, this was imprinted not just on me, but on generations.
Yes.
Now, as I grow into an adult and I'm forming into my adult years, I just get to ask myself questions like, does that work for me? And this is a pretty good question. Religion tells you, is it right or is it wrong?
Yep.
I think a better question is it working or is it not working? Is it true or is it false?
Yep.
And asking those questions is different than is it right or wrong?
Yeah, totally.
Right or wrong is typically exporting your authority to some other group of people or person.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right.
I know I may have adopted that belief or doctrine, and so I can be right with them.
Yep.
But what I've discovered is most people are obsessed in the binary right or wrong or not. They do not live a very happy or enjoyable life.
Yes.
It is usually full of angst. But if instead you go, is this working or not working? And you go, it's not working. And then you get to ask yourself why. And this, to me, back to Carl Jung's quote, this is where you get to do the work.
Yeah, totally.
Why is it not working? What's true? Like I remember, hearing about people from different cultures, different orientations, and going, "Hey, is this okay?" Like different religions,
right?
Well, they're wrong. Well, are they wrong? Because I just met that guy, that Jewish guy who didn't believe in Jesus, and he seemed pretty amazing, like,
right?
And as a matter of fact, he was kind of more loving than lots of other people who, in my world, growing up in a Christian narrative, were obsessed with being right, like. So what's true for me is that person has more of the love that you guys talk about than you guys are displaying.
Yeah.
Right? Now I'm being informed by my own experience.
Right.
Now, is the experience the tell-all? No, but it's informative. It's a data point. And now you get to begin to practice like going into that deep internal place and pay attention to your knowing, into your intuition. It's a different form of wisdom. And that is becoming an adult. So part of the adulting process, I think, is just being able to go identify where's the fear, where's the anxiety, what's the certainty I'm after, maybe the pressure I feel around pleasing other people.
Yeah.
Is actually the opportunity for me to begin to own my own life in ways I never have before.
I think there's also a thing, and I don't know if it's cultural, I don't know if it's a human thing, but that says, hey, if you want peace and harmony and all that, the only way to go about that is to eliminate all of your preferences.
Yeah. Yeah. Get rid of what you want.
Yeah.
Conform to what others want.
And if you can keep other people happy, they'll be happy with you.
That's it.
And that's the cycle. And you have a great life.
That's it. I literally had a conversation with a client this week who was like, I don't know what I want because I've spent so much of my time placating other people.
Yeah.
Because that was it's a question we ask often here. What do you want? It's a scary question for some people. I've asked clients, what do you want? And had them do an exercise on it. And it's pulled the thread. Like the Jenga, they pull that one out and the whole thing collapsed. Because they're like, wait a minute, you mean it's okay for me to have a want? Our guest is here. Fabi, come on in.
Oh.
Welcome.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. This is so exciting.
Oh, we're glad you're here.
Nice to meet
We
you.
met a long time
I
ago.
was like, I feel like I've met you before, but
Yes.
it's been 10 years.
Yep, totally.
Oh my heavens. And I love everything that's happening right there. I mean, woo.
My husband was like, just go. Like, but yeah, I was like, am I going to wear this is like my signature look. Like this is what I...
Okay.
And I was like, but Jamie's vibe is so much more like earthy and masculine. And he was like,
No.
and that's cool for him.
Bring in the play. That's
We want
right.
your vibe.
This
Yeah,
is
but I always
absolutely
do my
right.
vibe.
That's my vibe at home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just people don't get to see that as much.
I like it.
Welcome. So glad you're here. So we have a cool story.
Yes.
Back when I was in the ministry era and I was officiating weddings.
Oh my goodness. Well, I heard you just officiated one like a few months ago.
Shh, Fabi.
Oh, was that
To tell everybody.
Yeah.
I came out of retirement. Yes, I did. I did recently do one. But back in the day when that was kind of in the rhythm of my life, you sent me to South Africa to join you and your soon-to-be husband.
Yes.
And it was amazing.
We had
Wow.
just started going to Journey. We met and then I was just trying to tell the story the other day and I was like, I think it was one of those things where everyone was just like, you should go try our Journey because I was very vocal about my deconstructing. And I grew up in South Africa and I had been here about 2 years at the time and grew up in high control religion. I'm a pastor's kid. And so I was like, I just can't do the mega churches anymore. It was just too much of the same thing every single Sunday.
Right.
And I was like, I want something with depth, but I also am deconstructing. So I'm like talking to people and everyone's like, go check out Journey in Franklin. go check out Journey in Franklin. I was like, it's in Franklin.
Their pastor's deconstructing too.
In real time.
In real time. And so I was like, oh, okay, let's go check out Journey. And the first day I was like in tears, sobbing, sitting, listening to Jamie. And I was like, okay, I guess this is where I'm going to be for the next little while. And so we started just going, the two of us. And then we decided to have our wedding in South Africa because, quite frankly, it was too expensive to have it in Nashville. And most of my family wouldn't have been able to come.
Right.
If it was here.
Sure.
And so we were like, a wedding in Nashville or a wedding on a vineyard in Cape Town. So there's no...
Easy.
Let me think.
That was an easy choice. And then my husband was like, on one condition. We asked Jamie to be our officiant.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, okay. And I was like, there's no way he's going to do it. It's so like, and he's definitely the one that's like, let's just go for it. And so we did. We went up to him and we were like, how about, because we were like in our budget line item, Jamie, George, flight, accommodation. We're like, don't worry about anything.
Yeah.
Just please.
You made it easy to say yes.
Little did you know he's the king of destination weddings.
I had no idea. Because to me it was, like I had a very interesting relationship growing up with the pastor, which was my dad. And so just having someone there that we trusted so much was just so cool. And I sent him a picture the other day of my sister. She was 7 at the time. And there's this picture of him with his hand on top of her head. She was a flower girl and our photographer took it. And it's just like, oh my goodness. It was just so, she's just looking up at him like this. And it was just so perfect. I feel like it was like the perfect piece of us there because most of my husband's family couldn't come. So we kind of had to choose between which side of our family could actually be at the wedding. My family still talks about that, our wedding, which was amazing.
It was amazing.
It was great.
So you are, you've been on this fascinating journey and I've been so intrigued by, and one of the, I've been intrigued by, there's so many different things that when I'm watching you kind of dive into this, dive into that. And now you're doing your own coaching, and there are these kind of different modalities you choose from. We talk a little bit here about internal family systems and parts work, and I know that's been a part of what you do. So our conversation today has been around fear and certainty and this quest for certainty. What has your experience been like when you find yourself obsessed, and has there been a season where you were on this quest for certainty and it didn't work? And then what did you do when it didn't work? And where are you now? What are you discovering?
It's so interesting because I think we talked about a few weeks ago around the frequency of feelings. So emotions have different frequencies. There's been studies done about frequency. And fear is shame is actually the lowest frequency emotion.
Of course. And
then in the bandwidth of the survival frequency bandwidth, fear is one of those. So the view of the world is very different when you live in that band, around when you are constantly in a lower vibrational state. Yeah. And when you look at kind of the band that they've created, it's the lowest is shame, the highest is love, which makes sense, right? But the band is so vast because, like, if you kind of measure it in hertz perspective, it's 20 hertz ish for shame and almost over 1,000 for love.
Oh my goodness!
So like, there's so many bands in between.
Yeah.
But when you actually go into this survival bandwidth, which is between 20 to 100 hertz, that is all around. Like when we were talking about the tribe and like primal, right? So we go into our amygdala. We can't actually focus on our prefrontal cortex. There's like ability to actually plan and make rational decisions when we are in our primal ape brain is impossible. It's not because we don't want to or try to. It literally is a biological inability for us to think rationally. And so to try and rationalize yourself out of a state of fear, which is fight or flight, or any of the like primal responses that your body goes into when it feels like you're in danger. And that could be something as simple as seeing an email from your boss, right? So like, I was in corporate for about 13 years. The reason why I moved to America was because my company transferred me to Nashville.
No.
I was a CPA, which is hilarious now thinking back. I was a CPA for 13 years, and I thought I would become a partner. I was 17 years old when I signed my employment contract.
Wow.
With the company I worked for. So this was my ticket. They paid for my college. This was my ability to break the cycle of poverty that my family was in. And so this company became my identity. And so things like my boss emailing me sent me into fight or flight. So I was constantly in this state of fear.
Yeah.
And I was the right brain part of me, and the part of me that tried to rationalize everything and was very high functioning. And I always tell myself I was the perfect corporate, robot. I was raised in corporate, right, from 17 to 30 something, and my entire sense of self was based off of how much can I people please, how far can I go for the next promotion, how, like, all of these things that I think we start to think is just like natural, are things that we are programmed in those early years, especially if you grow up in an environment like the church where there is this right or wrong, black and white. And so you kind of go into the sense of, okay, so how can I please the people around me? How can I not be put into that position of fight or flight? So like, you asked a question about fear, and it's like, thinking back, it's like, it's not if I've experienced that, it's like when and how often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Right?
That's good.
Because it's not something we are consciously aware of. Because some things I think we think about fear as something that's acute. It has to be like big. But I think sometimes it's the small little like trickle of anxiety just when
it's like good.
I remember the feeling that I got when I heard the gate open when my dad got home from school, from work. I immediately snapped from a relaxed state into, I need to do something like, because being idle was not allowed
acceptable.
or acceptable. And so I needed to be busy. I needed to be productive, yeah. Right? And so you see the cycle continue, right? And so the work that I've done for myself has been a lot of nervous system work, because I realized that if this is something that is automatic, no amount of me thinking my way through it is going to change my response. Because if we see ourselves as like we're primal animals, right? Like we are more intelligent. We've come up with things like fucking taxes. Can I swear?
Yeah, absolutely.
For some reason, right? We have all the freedoms, and then we decide taxes was a good idea. But we're still at the end of the day, we're just very smart apes, right? Like we are. And there's basic things that happen in our nervous system that is programmed. So like we were talking, right? Like your neural pathways, like neuroplasticity, like you are able to reprogram your brain. And so I started to stop trying to force myself to make the right decisions. And like, why can't I just figure this out? Like shaming myself for not being able to not feel fear and accepting that is just part of my...
I'm going to feel fear.
Yeah.
That's going to be part of it.
So how am I going to be more self-compassionate, like you were talking about, right? And what I realized is the antithesis of self-compassion is stopping self-abandonment.
Yeah.
Because we talk about self-compassion a lot, but I don't think we talk enough about how much
when there's no compassion, you're actually abandoning yourself.
Yeah.
So like you have people pleasing on the one side, but you have self-abandonment on the other.
And this is challenging for people who grew up in religious systems. I would assume this is more than just the Christian religious system, other systems as well. But self-abandonment is pretty you get a lot of applause for self-abandonment. Yeah. I mean, no greater love than this.
Oh yeah.
Joy, Jesus, others, yourself.
So that's
real.
So this is interesting, though, because and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because the martyrdom.
Yeah, martyrdom is the quintessential version of it.
Yep.
The martyrdom of Jesus and the story of Jesus is, I think, the biggest pillar of how Christianity and the church has been able to get people to say, well, he killed himself, or he was sent to be killed for your sins. And so the shame that comes with that, and just like the automatic expectation that look at this guy. If you want to be like him, then you need to kill yourself.
as well.
Yeah.
And not in as, dramatic, but like how often, like you said, are we praised for being the martyr?
Yeah.
And this, to me, this is where Carl Jung, back to Jung's work on archetypes, is really helpful, because if you read Jung's work on archetypes, it, I think, helps you understand the Jesus story much better. In the late 1800s, I don't know, I've been out of it for so long, but I think that's when there was a theory that slowly got really popular in the United States called substitutionary atonement. And it so wove its way into evangelical subculture that I think your average Christian who goes to your average church today, it's at least some of the mainline denominations, maybe not some of the other denominations, but it's woven in that God had to kill his son. It wasn't optional.
Yeah.
And the sacrifices you saw in the Old Testament were just a setup for the blood that had to be shed. And to your point, like the whole reason Jesus came, God had to kill him. That was part of the deal. The contrast to that would be, you go into Jungian psychology and he would say there's an archetype here. Jesus is an archetype that says to us, hey, this is how you die before you die. Plant medicine. By the way, we talked about fascinating in the beginning. Maybe when we go to the library, this will be a book I pull at some point. I'm about halfway through a book called The Immortality Key. And it talks about how the church systematically removed women and removed any kind of plant medicine or anything that had a psychedelic power. Because when people had their own experience, they were connecting with God and it was uncontrollable. Like they were having a deep knowing of the divine, and that means you didn't need a priest. That means you didn't need a basilica or a cathedral, or like it
didn't need to check your experience to the Bible.
That's it.
Henry Black.
That's it, right? And so, anyway, the book's fascinating. But this idea that, wait a second, there are these archetypes, and the primary archetype for the ego is that you die before you die. That we all have this constructed ego, every one of us. And then what happens is you get to that point, what we typically call midlife crisis, which is actually an opportunity for awakening, where we go, oh, wait, I've been living according to someone else's programming. This to me is the human journey. Oh, I was programmed. The awakening begins. I mean, it's the Matrix. The awakening begins. And am I good with this programming? And what part of this ego construct is actually not working for me? And it's obsessed with comfort, control, and approval, which keeps me in suffering in a very low vibration. What would it be like to live into this higher self, the Christed self, or this true self, right? And religions and psychology, there's lots of different words for this. But this awakening now to, wait a second, I get to live above this. And when I surrender into this higher self, to me, that is the Jesus story. It was his teachings, and then it was his example of there is a resurrection into a totally different way of being. Has that been, how much of that resonates with you as you've come through your experience?
I think it's so funny because I think you awaken, like, I always tell people, like, every day you wake up, you plug back in, right? So like when you go to sleep, you're basically unplugging from the system. And then when you plug back in the morning, it means that you signed up to be here. So the reason why we're here is not because we want to escape this. And I think a lot of times people start to go down the rabbit hole of trying to escape this suffering of Earth. Right? And Earth is hard. Earth school is very hard, and it's the hardest in the universe. And it is a very dense, from a metaphysical perspective, like very dense, and we're kind of forced into physicality in a way that is harder for our spiritual beings to be in, right? So you're not. This is hard. And it's hard for a reason.
I like that phrase, Earth School. Earth School is hard.
It's hard.
So part of, as you have reframed your understanding of reality, do you see it as we were a soul or a spiritual being or somehow connected to consciousness? And then like that moment, when we think about like the moment that spark happens in the human being, and now the human being has life, that spark came from somewhere. As you've read and studied and had new experiences, unpack a little of that for us.
Oh my God, this is my favorite subject. Okay, so this is one of those things where you were saying earlier, you have no certainty. And maybe in a month or a year from now, I'm going to have a different view. But at this point, this is kind of I've kind of brought all of these pieces together, right? Yeah. And I always tell people, take what resonates and leave what doesn't.
Yeah.
The most important thing that you should really focus on when people ask me, where should I start? Because I talk a lot about spirit guides and channeling and all of these things that, as someone who grew up in the church, would have been like, what are you, like, you're crazy, right? And I tell people, the only way for you to know if something is true and is truth for you is to learn what your own discernment feels like. No amount of someone else telling you this is real is going to be able to land until you are so comfortable in your own body that you know what it feels like when someone speaks truth. And you've talked about this, right? You have that feeling.
Yes.
Like everyone has different feelings. For me, it's like tingling on my legs. Like I started to have such a somatic experience and such a connection with my body that I started using it as my compass.
So let's pause right there. This is really good. When do you know you're in the presence of truth? For you, there's a tingling that happens.
Correct.
For me, I have chills. I sometimes start crying. We've laughed about that. I'm like, and I have friends, my girlfriend, I'm like, why are you crying? I'm like, I'm overwhelmed by what's true. What about you? What about you? When you feel when you're like, I feel like, whoa, I'm in the presence of truth.
I think it is chills, and I don't even know if I can even describe it, but I know what happens. It's like a if it involves a person, which oftentimes it does, you feel a boom, like a draw, like a
magnetism. Yeah. 1975 concert. What did you feel?
Oh yeah, that was so incredible, man.
What did you feel?
I felt it. Well, first of all, you feel connected to almost everyone in the building.
There's a unity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you say sense that someone is speaking truth, what does truth mean to you? So meaning like the resonance?
Yes.
Not the facts.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the frequency, right? So I think I believe we are all channeling the divine at all time. We're
children of God.
Separation is an illusion, right? The law of one speaks on that, right? There's only oneness, and we are having an illusionary experience that we are all separate. And so when someone is tapping into a resonant frequency, and they're able to kind of step out of their own way and channel, because we all channel. People think that you have to channel aliens, but the act of channeling is having your frequency be in alignment, so much so that you are becoming a vessel for the divine to speak through. Whatever that means to you, like whether it's God, whether it's the universe, whether it's whatever that is, I think we as humans I've touched into so many different versions of it, and based on our experiences, we have interpreted it in a different way, which is why religion is so universal across countries, right? But to answer your question about souls, and that's why I preface this, is because like the things I'm saying could be like seen as, the things I say could be like, oh my gosh, she's crazy. But I'm also saying, listen with more than your ears. And if there's a resonance, follow the thread and go do your own research. I always tell people, like, go follow the breadcrumbs. And this is how I ended up with like finding random podcast episodes or books. And you talk about books a lot, but just finding different things out there that's like, oh, wow, okay, this is more than I thought. And so one of the things I talk about a lot is that Earth is like Earth School, right? So Earth is what they call a 3D planet, so the third dimension. And there's different dimensions as you kind of go into different, if you see it almost like as university, right? You like graduate from one and then you move up into the others. The dimensions is levels of frequency. And so for the third dimension, space and time exists here, right?
Right.
So things doesn't happen instantaneously, but you've also heard that time does not exist, right? Time is an illusion.
Right.
And there's a lot of illusions when you talk about the matrix of Earth. And the reason why these illusions exist here is because if you think about like the creator, whether it's source, whether it's universe, And you imagine the creator wanting to experience itself and to learn itself. The best way it could do that is to forget and then remember. And so it said that the creator created souls as a spark and then sent out those souls to experience its creation.
It's almost like we have a 9-month whitewash.
Exactly, right? And so if you think of the spirit realm as this place where everything exists in real time, there's no space, no time, there's no suffering, everything is just, what they call heaven. But it's also, the analogy I read was, you can imagine yourself being a white being in a white room and everything around you is white. So there's no differentiation, right? So you cannot know what is you, what something else, because everything is white. And the draw of Earth is, we are asked to come here and forget everything we knew before, whether it's past lives, whether it's the creator, whether it's really anything that is outside of this specific experience, the matrix that we're in. We are asked to go through what they call as the veil of Maya, which is the veil of forgetting. So when you are born, you are a brand new baby, but you're not a brand new soul. And I don't know if you have kids, but I thought my daughter is 7. I thought she would come out like factory settings, like a complete like a white slate, and like everything I do is so important that I would like make her into something. Yeah. And I realized very early on that she is already. There's so much more
the
here.
Nature versus nurture thing.
Correct.
You cannot deny that there is some nurture or nature that exists.
Totally. Exactly. And you can see sometimes when you meet a child, you're like, you're an old soul. Like, you've been here before. You can see in their eyes, like, you have so much wisdom. And so when people talk about soul ages and soul, like journeys and all that, it's one of the things that I love is like, when you think of as Earth as a school, and it's one of the hardest, the people have channeled that it's one of the hardest schools to go through in the universe, because we're the only planet with this forgetting aspect. So we're the only planet in the universe where souls go and incarnate in physicality and do not remember anything about what they knew before, or just the information about the universe. Because as we are finding out now, there's a lot of alien talk, a lot of things about, the government releasing things about, and it's funny because about 20 years ago, there were people saying this, but we all told them that they were conspiracy theories and laughed them off. And now it's just common knowledge.
Yeah, now the government is actually saying, no, we fully acknowledge that this is unidentified.
Exactly.
We have no idea what this is.
Exactly.
I heard recently one of the speculations when they're releasing all these tapes and other things, that one of the reasons, multiple galaxies, all these, the size of the universe, let alone the multiverse, that the reason we're not visited more often, or there hasn't been some dramatic interaction, is because our species is so violent that these other entities, at least what they've communicated, was that they don't want to interface with us because they don't want to bring that back.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
But it's all fascinating, right?
It's so fascinating. Okay, so part of this, the law of one, which is something I told you about before. It's this channeled work over 2 years that was done in Kentucky. And these researchers did unconscious channeling for years. And they talked about why, that same question, why don't we have more people seeing UFOs or experiencing that? And one of the things that they said there is that one of the reasons for that is if you think of this as a game, right? The game would not really make sense if we actually knew that, if we were made aware that these other entities exist, right? Because the game is that we go to sleep, we forget, and then through our own searching, we are awakened. Not through basically like aliens coming down and telling us. So it's like, if you start to think of Earth as the Matrix, but also start to think of it as there's certain things on Earth that require us to be kept in the dark. And the more we can the closer we can get to awakening without the external help or without.
It's the internal journey.
Correct.
This is the treasure hunt of it all.
Exactly.
I used to say, when you watch, Pirates of the Caribbean, or you watch, a great,
yes.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, if the opening scene, you found the treasure, you found the ark, 100%. You have no movie.
There would be no movie.
Right. So the quest it's the hunt. Part of the fun is the exploration, the discovery.
100%. And the game wouldn't be as enjoyable or fruitful, right? So when you go back to this then this was what really clicked to me, this aspect of things happening for me and not to me, which went from being in the victim mentality into being like a sovereign. And that's also helps with fear, right? So the thing that really helped me was taking a step back and thinking, okay, if my soul chose to incarnate in this body, in this family unit, in this lifetime, in this time of and place, there's something here for me, right? There's something for me to experience here. And if I make the assumption that everything I'm experiencing is happening for my greatest good, even if it's horrible, how can I take that as nothing, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me, but also why would my soul want to, the curiosity, why would my soul want to experience the religious trauma that I've experienced? What was in that would have been able for me to learn something from that experience?
And now there's a form of, now you come out of it with gratitude.
Yes.
As opposed to angsty, victimization, blaming.
But also both, right?
Okay.
Because there's no bad parts.
Okay.
So the parts that felt angst and fear and shame and all of those things. Okay, so how can I hold those parts, but also
I honor that.
Honor the parts that felt traumatized by it, but don't let them drive the bus. Don't let those parts be the ones that decide how the experience is going to be judged, and say, okay, you are welcome here, but like we say for our children, my responsibility is to keep you safe, right? You can have this emotion, but in this safe environment, but I will still love you through this big emotion, as opposed to having them be the ones who drive the emotion. Yeah.
You can have the emotion, but no, we're not having 5 bags of candy tonight.
Yes.
It's still a no. I love you through it, and it's okay to be sad about it. Right. But it's still a no.
Right.
And so what I started to change, I always talk about all of our lives is through different lens, right? When you change the lens, you change your perspective, and when you change your perspective, because perspective is reality, right? So you change your lens that you look through things, then you can change the perspective that you have, and then you can look at the same experience with a different view.
It's so good.
And so when I started to see this as, okay, what if this is a fucking game? What if this literally is a video game that we're all in? And every time we go to sleep, we wake up, we go back to our higher self, whatever you want to call it, with our spirit team, and we kind of evaluate the day, and we come back and we have another chance.
You got another day.
You got another
what are we doing today?
I love it.
I love it.
Then 3:00 comes, you're like, mother.
And so, basically, you have less than 100 years, which feels like a lot because we're here, right? But then you think about it, when you also start to listen about, in the eyes of the Creator, the time doesn't exist.
Yes.
And so our lives are like a blip. It feels like it takes so long, and it feels so hard because every single thing has an impact. And that's a gift. Because I've heard also people channel how Earth has a long waiting line to get in. Because of how much experience a soul can have here versus other places.
Wild.
You can get a lot in.
Because when you think about it, nothing worthwhile is ever gotten without real struggle. And I was fucking struggling down here, right?
Yeah,
it's hard.
Right.
And that's why it's so enticing.
How do you handle, we kick this off by talking about this quest for certainty and forming beliefs.
Yes.
We can't deny that beliefs are an approximation of truth, yes. Right? So I have an experience, and then in the moment I put it into words, I'm kind of codifying it. Yes. I'm kind of building a belief structure around it. How do you, and we've talked about okay, that might be a desire, a belief, it might be guidance for you, but the attachment to it is what is the illusion of certainty, and then what ultimately causes suffering. what you start to form a belief. Hey, you know what? This is making sense to me. I read these books. I've read these podcasts. I think we came from somewhere, and I think this is Earth School. And like, I'm starting to form this understanding. It's how I currently see the world. How do you hold them without being attached to them? How do you hold them loosely? So
good question.
Because I love what you said. You're like, hey, today I'm going to tell you, I think we're in Earth School, but next year check in with me. I might have a different thought. How do you hold those? Like, this is what's giving me orientation. And it might not a year from now.
That is, that happens so often. And it has happened like this, what do you call it? Crisis of faith, right? Because we start to build these pillars and then we have the tower moment.
Yes,
in tarot,
yes.
Which is one of my favorite moments, because when you have a tower moment, which is basically in the tarot, it's this card that like the entire tower is trembling. People hate getting that card, especially as well as the death card, because they see the negative in that. But for me, it's like, okay, so it sucks.
This is the collapse.
This is a collapse.
My worldview, the way of my understanding of the nature of reality.
I think, and it's not a coincidence that my entire childhood was built on pillars that I ended up completely obliterating through deconstructing. And now I know I can survive that. I can survive.
There's now a resilience and a fortitude and a strength and a maturity.
That was hard.
Yeah.
That was like, and it still is.
Yeah.
It's my family of origin. They're still in that church. They still believe. I now need to navigate the world where I am trying to figure out, do I push back on them, on their beliefs, or do I just it's hard, right? And so I'm like, if I can get through that, none of these things will ever be as solid as those, because I realized that those weren't solid.
Yes,
and the illusion of the certainty of those quote unquote solid was what hurt me more. And so it's like, I'm not a pessimist.
It's really good.
I'm not a pessimist, but I'm also just like, this is probably going to fall apart. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah. Right.
I do a lot of work with human design, and we talked about it a little bit. And have you heard of human design?
It's a form of personality. It connects with the stars. And
I think I have.
You put in your date, time, and place of birth. And
yes.
Yeah.
I've been on... My wife has put me on an app before.
Yes, always. I'm like, who's the wife? It's always the woman. But one of the things in human design, which I love so much, and I can talk about forever, for me is I'm a line 3, which is all about creating and breaking bonds. It's the martyr, funny enough, line. And this line is all about trying things out and like trial and error. And so what I've realized is that my default... not even default from my parents, but my default, what I came in with, because that's all what human design talks about. It's your soul plan. It's your kind of design for this specific incarnation and what your goals are as a soul in this lifetime, is about me stepping into certain things with the expectation that it's going to fail. Like failure is not a bad thing, because it's data and it's information and it's how I am made to learn. It may be different for other people, but once I learned that about myself, I was able to look back at my life and see all of these instances where the suffering was not because of the thing. It was because of my attachment.
Of course.
That's so good.
So like people, I don't know who said this, because I'm not Jamie, and he can quote people.
Go ahead, he'll tell you.
But the suffering is the distance between your expectation and reality.
So good.
So that's where suffering lives.
Suffering is the distance between your expectation and reality.
Yeah. If you can sit with what is, as opposed to hoping for what you wish it was, the suffering will be so much less, because the ask is always just to be here now.
Yeah.
Be here now. Yeah. So good. All right. So, Fabi, as always, thank you for blowing our minds.
Yeah.
In conclusion,
yes.
We've kind of talked about a lot of this, but if you were to nail one, and maybe give us a recent one. This is the most recent, and Shane, if something jumps out at you too, maybe we'll all jump in on this.
Yeah.
What the most recent belief you've had that is evolved, shifted, or crumbled? What's the most recent one you're finding? I'll give you mine.
Okay.
Mine is, and some of our conversations recently has accelerated this for me. I grew up thinking there are three basic kinds of beings that had consciousness: humans, angels, demons. That was the worldview I was taught. Now, I did remember reading in the Bible there were like these other beings too, like the sons of God came and mated with the daughters of men, and Nephilim and giants, and there was all these other things, right? And so, but we never really talked. We kind of avoided those parts in terms of the Bible. What's fascinating is with the government releasing these things, I've always been like, maybe, but now even more, I'm like, probably. And I went to a Joe Dispenza conference and they talked about other entities. And so the shift for me is I'm more open than ever before to maybe there's a lot of different beings out there. I haven't met any yet, but it makes more sense to me that they exist, or that all of it is some form of illusion and frequency. It's kind of one or the other, as opposed to there's only an angel, only a demon, only a human. That's the biggest shift in me is this, like, I've always been curious, but it becomes more probable now that there's so much more going on in the world than what I experience. And a lot of my friends and spiritual teachers who use the term guides and so forth, it makes sense to me.
You might be right still, though, because I've heard that aliens are just demons.
Or that.
Let's not go down to the demon conversation because I love to chat about it.
We'll be there. All right, that's the next. That's the next conversation.
I think for me, it's been, I am being asked more and more for me to be in my human flesh. And we've talked about this a little bit as to this tendency that we do get, when I see it in the spiritual community a lot, where we try and spiritually bypass by trying to go into the higher realms and channel and like have out-of-body experiences. And like it's very much up here, right? Like we meditate for hours and we're trying to access the divine through these out-of-body, high mountaintop experiences. And whilst I have done my dark nights of the soul, and I've gotten into my shadow, and I've done a lot of shadow work, I'm seeing how much I am spiritually bypassing. Even there's different ways of spiritually bypassing, I believe, and I'm being asked through my experiences, through my spiral of healing, right? As we spiral or go around the spiral, we kind of come back to the same point, but at different depth, right? So I'm coming back to how can I be more and more in my human. And because I'm a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yeah.
But
let's not miss the human experience.
As I've been told by my guides all the time, because I tend to disassociate. I tend to go into this, go into the spiritual things and like the philosophy, whatever, right? You are here for a reason. You came to Earth because you wanted to experience how it would be to be in physicality.
Get back in that body.
So how can I get more into my body?
Yeah.
Physically, but also like trusting my physical being and not escaping it through even intellectual conversations or reading or like things that kind of pull you out of the mundane, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But the mundane is why we're here.
I relate to that. That resonates.
You know what I'm realizing about myself, pondering that question, is, I mean, there's certainly things that I would consider somewhat trivial that I never believed, but now I do. For instance, hole-in-one.
Never believed I would get one?
Right. Like, I never went around going, I'll never hit a hole-in-one. It wasn't that, but I kind of moved through my life as if I were never going to get one. Like, I just never thought about it. But when it comes to spiritual, existential, whatever that is, divine, I don't know that I've ever been, even when I was in the middle of my life in Christianity, I don't know that I was ever super dogmatic about any of it. I feel like I've always been open. I wouldn't have had this language to use, I think I've always been kind of open, but afraid to ask or talk about it. And so there's nothing, I mean, apart from, yes, a lot of the biblical stuff that has changed in my mind. There's not like this thing is like, this is what I believed, and no, I don't. Like this thing. I've never been too dogmatic, and that's probably where I'm at, where I am now, which is, the worldview of, I think for me, I think the biggest issue of the at least the Western Christian worldview is that it's all based on being right and not on experiencing and friggin' loving.
Yeah, which is supposedly the center of that story. Well, how about I leave us with this? I'm going to leave us all with a coaching exercise. So for those watching, listening, here's a little takeaway. Here's a way to join Fabi and Shane and I on the journey. You could ask it like this. Am I willing to trust more of what I don't understand than what I have previously, than ways in which I have previously insisted that I was right? Am I willing to plunge into the unknown and pursue, Fabi was describing it really well, go find what's true. Find it. Pay attention to that resonance. And if it feels off, if there's this weird check, if it feels there's conflict, then get curious about that. What is that saying? But you might listen to this and go, well, there's something feels really weird for me. Okay, honor that. Something you heard us say might go, oh, that hit, that connected. And it's funny, we use words like that, connected, I feel chemistry, I really vibed. Like they're all, we think they're metaphorical terms about energy, but the truth is we're actually literally speaking to energy.
Totally.
And so that's our invitation for you. As we close the show, your opportunity for a moment of reflection, our invitation as extended friends to say to you, hey, I get it. Freedom can feel heavy and responsible, but it's for freedom you've been set free. Their freedom is available. You get to choose. You're an empowered chooser. And check in. If you find the questions first, and then perhaps for just a moment, lay down what you're convinced you're right about and be willing to consider what's true. Thanks for being here.
Amen.
Thanks for coming.